little and often rather than significant and noticeable. So every 6 months there would be a 5p or a 10p increase, which as a percentage would be kind of half 1%. But it meant that across the year you'd be getting 2.5% increase, which is what you'd need to offset inflation. I don't know what they've done since I left, but that worked. You never saw a decline in volume on the back of a price increase because it just wasn't noticeable. Now over time, if you look at price of a pizza today compared to 5 years ago, you'd realise it had gone up a pound. But customers don't tend to notice very small increments. And the problem you have when inflation gathers pace, it's easy for the likes of Frank and Manca to put the price up because they're still very cheap. But because Pizza Express have over time become quite expensive, it gets a lot harder. And unfortunately, you're kind of, everything is based on a margherita pizza, so cheese and tomato pizza. So if that's the kind of known value item, and you want it to be competitive with not only Prezzo and Zizi, but also the pubs and everybody else that sells a pizza, you can't then say, and if I put 24 pieces of pepperoni on it and call it an American, I can charge £3 more because 24 slices of pepperoni are not worth £3. But everything has to get pegged back to the margherita, and that's the challenge for them. And a customer will say, well, why would a vegetarian eating a margherita pay £8 if I want some meat and I'm paying £14? That's clearly unjustifiable premium, and so that's the problem that they have.
Got it. That's interesting. Okay. In terms of cost, so we've talked about the headwinds that the company is facing for the sourcing of the food, the ingredients. Sorry, is it mostly like euro denominated or?
It's a lot of it's British, and then obviously some euros, but it's kind of naturally hedged because they have a very good business in Ireland called Milano.
Okay.
So there's kind of natural hedging that takes place. So there's no real currency issue. So if they talk to you about that, that's a red herring. And then, as I say, a lot of it's sterling and some euro and some dollar.
Okay.
But yeah, there's no real currency challenge.
Okay, so the real issues are living wages and business rates at the moment.
Yeah, and rent. So living wage is a challenge because people say Deliveroo is a godsend, but it's actually a challenge as well because you have to have such a good experience in your restaurant that it's worth your customers travelling to your restaurant and getting disturbed and putting their makeup on or whatever. And if you try to take too much labour out of the restaurant, and people say, well, there's no additional experience here, so I may as well just have the food delivered to my home or my office. So you can't take too much labour out of the restaurants. And again, because Pizza Express is quite expensive, unless you have great service, you'll think, well, hang on, I'm being ripped off here. I'm paying £15 for pizza, and it's taking a long time to come, and the waiter is miserable. It's not worth it. So the food tends to be of a consistently high quality in Pizza Express. The variable is the environment, and if you don't invest in the capital, the environment starts to look shabby, and the service. So you have to invest in the service. So one of the biggest challenges in the whole sector is retention. There's a lot of movement. People don't stay in one business, and there's therefore a huge cost of acquisition and training. So if you look after your people, and that's not just by paying them well, it's by treating them well, they will stay, and your labour cost goes down that way. Because Pizza Express spend a fortune on acquisition and training of people. If you lose a chef, you have to go and find a new chef. You have to buddy him up with somebody for several weeks. So you're paying 2 salaries, not 1. And that's what they've done badly in the last 12 months. They need to reinvest in their people. But labour's the biggest cost. So if you think about the P&L, 33% labour now. Food was 16, but I imagine that's up to 17.5, maybe even 18.